Yeah, what's good, what's good, what's good? It's myself, J Hall, and I'm joined by my homie.
What up?
Oh, you gonna put the midnight voice on right now? You were just talking real
We were
regular.
talking about Raheem Devon, so I'm in the
Okay.
that mood.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. So first of all, this right here is a combination of starting with today and also my type of conversation.
Yes.
So here's the thing. It started off because Charlyn had saw the photograph.
Right.
And Charlyn was like, you need to go see it. I had plans to see it. I just didn't want to see it on Valentine's Day.
I agree. I understand.
You know what I mean? Because
I did, though.
I just not with that ish. So I went and saw it like the week later. All right. So I text Charlyn and I'm just like, hey, I saw the photograph. Charlyn calls, right?
I mean, the movie hit so close to home. I just really was like, I need to hear what he has to say right now.
So she calls and she's like,
and I'm not a phone person, so people don't know that.
Not a phone person at all. And I don't know, it was a frustration because my signal was going in and out or whatever. But all I kept hearing was, this need to be a podcast. This need to be a podcast. So it was also a combination of an idea Charlyn had pitched to me about a year ago that I had already been working on anyway.
Yeah.
Which you are here now listening, called My Type of Conversation, which will have features of individuals and kind of a round table-ish kind of thing, and I'll give more about that. But getting to the ish, you understand? We wanted to at least have this first one be about the movie The Photograph. And we, it's perfect because pretty sure everyone has saw it now.
Right.
And
or everybody that's going to see it.
You're in on it because, Twitter folks can't keep secrets. So we're gonna kick off like that. So let's not beat around the bush. My first question to you is, what was your idea of the movie? Like, remember when the trailer first dropped?
Right.
Okay, so what was your idea of the movie when you saw the trailer versus coming out?
I mean, I remember watching the trailer like at least 10 times back to back to back just to see the beautiful brown skin on my screen, the music, everything about it was just like, it spoke to me, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to experience that, as soon as it was available. I don't think beyond that I had expectations, right? So I definitely saw people comparing it to Love Jones, and I definitely got that
off the break, right?
Off the 2 minutes.
A 2-minute trailer.
And I didn't have that expectation because I feel like that's a lot to put on any movie, right? Okay. Because that's like in a canon. Mm-hmm. But just to say, okay, we're doing a black love movie with black people, brown people telling their stories. I was just excited. I didn't really have much expectations around it. I do know coming out the movie, though, the comparison, was it what I thought it would be? No. But not in a bad way. I don't know. It was different. I think it's kind of one of those movies you have to kind of sit with it and let it marinate to kind of really unfold the layers of it. But I felt good walking out the movie theater. Like, I felt satisfied. I felt like people need to go see it. I definitely started tweeting about go see it and put it on my Instagram, like, see the photograph, and especially for the soundtrack. I think they did a really good job with that as well. So.
Right. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, this is dope. Yeah. But my irritation kind of came from what you said earlier, like people who were just like, oh, Love Jones and hashtag Black Love. And, you and I have had these conversations about what I feel about the term, Black Love. I mean, even this episode right here is called The Photograph and All Things Black Love. Like, I just have this thing about it because to the way the title Black Love was introduced to me was supposed to, like, I guess, combat the or be supposed to be a reaction to the the images of, like, us. So it's like we're supposed to be responding to them, aka white people or white society, who think that black people don't know how to love each other. Right. So that's how Black Love was introduced to me.
Right, which is not true.
Cool. And I didn't know that until I had a conversation with you, because I was annoyed by that, because I hate personally responding to white society or any type of, like,
and no, I'm not saying that part is not true. I'm saying it's not true that black people don't know how to love.
Correct. But it's also that wasn't just necessarily what the term black love was created for also too solely. It might have been one of.
Right.
But I was a little bit annoyed. So I was a little bit annoyed by.
I've heard that sentiment a couple times.
From other people?
From other men.
Okay.
Men.
Yeah, because I just we about to go left. Yeah, and again, there's a difference between annoyance versus what I sit on the soapbox for.
Right.
Like I wasn't going out writing think pieces about it. I'm not against it. It was just a slight annoyance. And so when I saw the trailer for it, first of all, I love Issa Rae and this whole collective, this new kind of.
Yes, Issa. I stand for Issa Rae. I stand for her.
These new black creatives that are coming up and working together, right?
Because
when you think about two shows that has impacted black culture, has been Atlanta and Insecure. If you ain't watching one, you watch the other, right? And right now we're all on a drought because we y'all need to hurry up. But we like the fact that they are working together. I mean, when I think about the three things that have stood out to me when it comes to black culture is Atlanta, Insecure, and Get Out.
Ooh,
right?
Get Out was a
and
good
this
one.
movie had all three people
characters.
who participated. Everyone from those elements in that. So I was like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like this is gonna be okay, cool. I'm with it, And
I like too. It was a black woman director. I wasn't familiar with her work, and I guess this was kind of pretty much her debut to the big screen. But that was interesting as well. And I think the cast did a good job of including her in the panels that they were doing for the promo and putting her out there as well. So yeah,
it go to show you how much times have changed because we didn't get a chance to see the director of Love Jones, right? We didn't get a chance to see the director of. These people are still working, but they wasn't in our face,
right?
The Love and Basketball people, they wasn't in our face like the actors were, right?
Exactly.
And also, back then the platforms were different.
Very true.
You know what I mean? So
shout out to Issa
shout out to her, for that. So my idea of it going in was I'm like you, I didn't have no expectations.
Right.
I was just more oh, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? All right, it didn't seem corny to me.
It didn't seem corny. It seemed very...
which is so important because I'm not I love all types of movies, but I don't like when someone hits me over the head with a theme, especially with love and all that.
You know what part got me though? When they were sipping the wine at the family's house, what y'all do when y'all got stuck in the storm. And they started laughing.
That was in the trailer?
That was in the trailer.
Okay.
But that shit, that was that resonated so deeply with me because it's a real response. You know what I'm saying?
I can tell you had watched the trailer a lot. You had watched the trailer because I'm like, you talking about the movie or the trailer? So I didn't have any expectations when I went in, but when I came out, I will say that I felt, I would say a little bit indifferent because it was that's not what I was expecting.
Right. Very true.
Kind of the same way I felt about, Queen of Slim. You know what I mean? When I walked in one way, I thought Queen of Slim was going to be this Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
Mad Bodies was going to drop, but then it turned into a different thing.
I had expectations for Queen and Slim.
Okay.
And I think with that, it was slightly disappointing because I did have expectations, right? Mm-hmm. And I felt like it could have been this incredible, another canon movie was that close, and then it just missed the mark.
See, I did like it, but I think that's the problem with trailers. I think trailers will betray you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make that, but I'm just saying. I think the trailer portrayed it like it was one thing in a sense, and we all went in there.
Right.
Man, listen, if you still didn't like it or you had parts about it that you felt
I
disappointed,
would watch it again. It wasn't a bad movie, right?
Yeah, I thought it was dope. You know, I ain't gonna lie. There was just one thing about Queen of Slim that went over my head. I totally missed the mark that the dude betrayed him at the end. I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Why? No. When he was counting money, I thought he was just counting his money.
Stop it.
Yeah, until I saw somebody on Instagram say F this dude, and I was like, oh snap, that's what happened.
Yeah, and I just think the story development for him to be the one portraying was just it was a complete miss.
Yeah. So when I came out, I felt like the photograph was just different from what the trailer. I thought there was a lot of themes in there.
Right.
Which kind of leads to what we were saying. I feel like there was a lot of themes in the movie that might have went over people's heads because of expectation.
Definitely. And before we go to the theme part, but real quick, I was thinking about, I was expecting more drama out the photograph. You know what I'm saying? When they,
you know what?
There were so many points where I was like, the ex is going to come out. They're going to see him. They're going to fight. It was just none.
I thought it was going to be some arguments. Now,
right.
I will say this.
I was anticipating drama.
I will say this.
What that mean? My projection. I probably projected.
Oh, no. I said, I will say this, though. That was the part to me that made it similar to Love Jones. Because, and this is only because I saw Love Jones recently. So it's
okay.
There was a lot of mentions in Love Jones that we didn't technically see that people were speaking of.
Right.
Like, we never technically saw or knew in how deep Lorenz Tape's relationship was before such and such.
Right.
It was mentioned that there was a woman and we saw him with his arm around. So that was the part that I felt like was a little blueprint of Love Jones.
True.
Because I kept thinking like we gonna see this ex.
Right.
In the
city.
That's gonna be explode. But you're right. It wasn't like no big argument and everything and stuff. No big yelling.
Right.
No big, a bunch of like tears and the dramatics of I love you.
Right.
And, which is what I love about it. Right. My favorite part about Love Jones was honestly is when he ran to the train station and missed her.
Oh, because it's real life.
The thing about I like real. I am in love with realism, right? When I see things that I'm just like, yo, where is this coming from?
Right.
No, it's different.
You are.
Yeah, it's different and it's weird because I'm a comic book geek. It's because they telling me it's comic book. They're not telling me it's real.
Yeah.
You understand? But when you're telling me something's supposed to mirror real life, I'm like, that doesn't happen. Or
right.
It's hard for me just to accept it.
Right.
So, to your point, when I was watching the photograph, it didn't have all this like yelling and I don't know how to love. My daddy didn't love me.
My mom didn't love me.
My mom didn't. Well, which leads us to so.
Right.
One thing that was different was it kind of showed some traditional curses.
Generational.
Generational, thank you. Generational curses.
Definitely.
That we don't necessarily view as curses.
Ooh.
You like the way her mother, Issa talks about her mother relationship. Right. And she talks about her mother relationship, the lack of love on it. You can tell she was still dealing with death. Her mother had just passed like a month prior.
Right.
But then we also got a chance to see her mother in that relationship with her grandmother.
Right.
Right. And
which was beautiful.
It was right to see that.
To
was
see
beautiful,
that
right?
the visualization of it.
These small things, right? Again, no long big arguments, no slap you in the face,
right?
But there were just a lot of things you were watching. You're kind of just like, okay.
Oh, I've seen that before. I've seen that in my family before. I've seen that, in family gatherings.
What exactly did you see before?
I mean, you can see like the distance and the working, the understated love. It's the loving the best you can, but not this overt expression of love.
And that's, I think one of the first messages of love in the photograph was when old Isaac offers my man some crabs.
Yo.
Right? And so he's like, oh, no, I already ate.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I offer you crabs and you're going to tell me no.
Right.
And this is something that you said earlier.
His love language.
That was his love language.
That was his love language. And I'm from the South, so food is definitely how we extend love, extend hospitality. It's how we apologize. I cooked you some, baby. Come in here. And so.
I need a Southern girlfriend,
so that is
no plate and say sorry.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily use the words as freely sometimes in some families and some, especially older generations. And so the love is in the food.
The love was in the food. So I think that was something that could go. I'm not,
right.
And again, we're not sitting here trying to say that we these highly intelligent people. We're just saying that these are themes that we felt like that were there, that was subtle.
Right.
You may or you may not have missed. And I definitely think that, and listen, I missed it until you informed me, right?
I mean, he offered it to Issa as well, you know what I'm saying? When she came, he offered her.
Offered it Issa.
Yeah, and crabs ain't, cheap. Crab legs ain't cheap. So it is a beautiful expression of love.
Okay. Yeah, because I can imagine me offering you some food that's not cheap.
Right.
Because I don't know if I ever offer anybody some steak. I just don't know if I ever have or I ever
or lobster.
I definitely ain't order lobster. You got to be Jesus and you better prove it. Let me order you some lobster. Another thing that and you know what? I don't even want to say that these are things that might have went over here. We're just going to point out things. Another thing that you and I talked about was although there were generational curses, there was also generational wisdom.
Right.
And Issa and Lakeith both was receiving wisdom
right.
from a generation before them.
Right.
So
which
Issa,
I feel like we don't do enough of
right.
now, right?
Well, if you think about it, like Issa was like her mother never told her life.
Right.
So she's reading these letters
right.
after her mother passed. Her mother left a letter for her and her father.
Right.
Right. And as we're watching the film, we see that Issa has a great relationship with her father.
Right, right.
And she has a struggled relationship with her mother. And so
Right.
her mother is saying, read this first and give this to your father.
Right.
That's the thing. And throughout the film, she can't read it all at once. She's reading it like in parts. Now, Lakeith, he's a writer. And so he's actually going to Old Isaac for something totally different.
Right.
But conversation goes left. He's listening throughout the film of recordings of what Isaac is saying. And it's becoming personal for him. So he's getting this wisdom.
Right.
Which is something that you were talking about, how we don't do enough. Or we don't see enough.
Right. I don't think we see it on the screen enough, and I don't think we do it in real life enough. Especially, I think in cities like D.C., New York, and some other big cities, probably Atlanta, where we have a lot of transients, like a young transient, so where a lot of us are away from our family, so we're not sharing the stories as much, and we kind of just listening to peers, and we're wondering why we're struggling, like in our spaces, not even just relationships wise, but like career wise, and like trying to keep up and not really knowing your story. I think this movie did a beautiful job of the importance of knowing your story, knowing your pain, and addressing that before like you're beginning to carry it on to the next generation. Yeah,
it always seems like within Black, there's always a hotter code. It's very room for gray. So either you come from a family that's fully transparent,
right,
that tells you everything, and you've been telling these stories because that's a part of our heritage,
right,
or you have family members that don't tell you anything,
right? Like the cousin that's not your cousin. That's
Oh no, that's real,
right?
I definitely come from in a community of you didn't ask how somebody was related,
right?
Someone told you I was your family. That's it.
Right.
So it took me a long time to learn that practice isn't the same everywhere.
Yeah.
So you know how as we getting, you and I, speak for myself, as we getting older, our friends are having kids. And somebody might playfully say, "Oh, that's your uncle," right?
Right.
See,
right.
Me, where I'm from, once you say uncle, I'm like, "Oh, responsibility. That's what it is. Da-da-da, full deck. Part of the budget, da-da-da-da."
Right.
Like that's the environment that I come from.
Right,
you know what I'm
right.
saying? So I had to learn that, wait a minute, when someone says this,
right,
let me learn their background and how real they are with this before I go all in.
Right.
Because where I'm coming from, my uncle is my uncle.
Yeah.
Right? And he's been my father figure since I was able to open my eyes, and he's done everything for me.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we do in my family or in the setting that I'm around.
Right.
I don't know how a lot of people in my family are still related to this day, especially how a lot of the elders have passed on.
Right.
And they wasn't the most they didn't communicate that much.
That's true.
And so I found that was funny because you had Isaac, and the first thing he tells, old Isaac, Lakeith Stanfield is, I would have went after her.
Yeah.
That's the first gem he drops.
Damn.
Is I would have went after her. And one of the things I think, a theme that I think that was speaking about that was about male Black pride.
Ooh.
Because male black pride is a different type of pride.
We got to talk about that.
You have men pride, but then you have male black pride. And male Black pride comes from our reaction to oppression in the sense of that we overcome a lot. When you're Black, the first thing you come into the world knowing, whether if your parents feel like they want to teach you this or not, society teaches us that we have to overcome.
Right.
That's the sense that we have. As a man, when you're putting it in the way things are set up, you're thinking automatically like, man, I don't level up to what society is saying what a man is.
Damn.
You're getting these messages somehow, right?
Right.
So as a Black man, what you hold on to for yourself, you commit to it.
Damn.
Right? When a Black man commits to it, he's like commit to it. So if this is who I am, this is who I am.
Right.
So the character Isaac, the young character, and again, that was played by the actor who's also in Insecure, and I think that his portrayal was dope.
It was amazing
right?
job.
It was dope because I didn't see the guy from Insecure.
Oh yeah, I didn't either. I didn't even think about
I saw
him.
some dude from Louisiana.
Exactly.
Right? And he was committed to being who he was. Like they're in Louisiana, And she is like, wants to talk to him to go to New Orleans.
Let's go to New Orleans, baby.
And he's struggling with going to New Orleans within the same state. Like, he's struggling. He really don't want to go, right? And then he goes and he sees it's a great idea. Right. It's like, oh, they have a great time.
It's always there, right?
And you spoke to that about how women, let's be clear. Black women give black men sight.
Yeah, we have to coax and black men into expanding their horizons too often, I feel. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And I think a lot of, and I get the oppression, but a lot of black men, and I think this archetype that they put in this movie that was set in the 80s at that point, right? So it's not too far removed. Is what we talked about. This is not 1950s and 1960s. This is,
84.
84. And how, like you said, they're dead set on this thing, but they don't even have an idea what's beyond that, but beyond what they are experiencing. But that fear of not knowing, not being in control, not being able to possibly protect themselves from the unknown, I think, stifles a lot of growth and seeing what's possible.
Because what that is, too, is that if I step outside of that and I fail, if I fail on my own, cool. But the last thing I want to do is fail in front of you.
Wow. I never thought about that.
Right? I don't want to fail in front of you. Because there's too many other examples that are telling me that I'm a failure. Right. And the measure of being a black man comes with a different crown. Right? Versus a white crown, they are birthed with it, damn near, right? Versus a black crown, we feel like we have to go earn it. And because we have to go earn it, we feel like that's our reward. Versus, like someone said to me, my homegirl Nell said that, a white male is born kind of with the mentality of Lion King. Ooh. Like, everything the sun touches is yours. Wow. Where a black male, we're born with thinking that the reward should be once we overcome something. Wow. So when you think about someone like Isaac, he working his job, he making his money. Okay, my reward should be my woman, right? And you should be there for me.
Should we talk about that scene though? Because
right. And so she's like telling him.
First of all, Christina's character was flawless. Her performance,
by Shantae Adams, who's from Detroit. Just want to throw that out there. She was in Roxanne. I told you to go see that.
Listen, she deserves all the awards because I believed her. I believed her story. I didn't see any separation between her, the person, and her, the character. And that scene with Isaac, young Isaac, where she was like, just don't want to feel like I'm just here to cook your meals, and even like loving him, right? Like she adored this man, but how much of herself was she willing to like let go to accommodate him in his fears, right? Because it's the fear thing. The fear of, it's not necessarily like he's immobile and can't move or go to New Orleans on a whim. It's like how much of herself is she willing to let go to accommodate his fears?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we see today. Yeah. It's like, I know what's best. Right. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to go do this. Ooh. And I'm speaking about the fact that the character, Christina, she goes to New York. She ultimately wants to go to New York. Yeah. So the New Orleans thing was almost like, if I can get him to go to New Orleans, maybe I can get him to go to New York. Right. So, but he doesn't want to go to New York, and so she just leaves. Right. Now, that you can compare that to today, where you can have a partner, a woman and a male, and the woman might say, well, I'm just going to go do it, right? Because this is what's best for you. And sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. Right. And what we saw with Christina, it didn't necessarily work out the way she planned. And one thing that I thought that was interesting, another quote-unquote theme or thing that I thought is that even though she went off to New York, she was out there for 3 months, her plan was still to go get him. That was so crazy to me, because I'm thinking like, she didn't, she's gonna be hurt, but she's cool. She was like, oh, he'll be all right once I got everything set up. Right. Which traditionally we have seen in film, the men do that.
Exactly.
And when you go back and you even look at old John Wayne movies, the man would go out, chop the tree down, build the house, make sure the house is all just before he even go propose to the woman.
So true.
Right?
So true.
So Christina, her character goes off to New York, which is quote unquote the concrete jungle. Right. She goes in the midst of it. She doesn't know nothing about it. She makes a small life, and her intentions is to come back and get her man. Right. And she comes back and she finds out that son is
married, man.
After within 3 months.
3 months.
So and he had already been asking her.
You gotta let that marinate,
Yeah, well. I just want to say
her mom died.
I just want to say that he had already been asking her. He had asked her more than once, is what we find out in the movie, to get married, and she wasn't ready.
I don't know if she wasn't ready. She didn't want to stay there.
No, she said she wasn't ready.
Okay.
Remember, she said, I'm not ready.
Okay.
I'm only pointing out the fact that he didn't go propose to somebody for the first time. He had proposed to Christina.
And she said no.
And she said no on more than one occasion.
All right, that's fair.
Okay. Your thoughts on that when you found that out, though? How did you feel when you received? Okay, you looking at me real? You just gave me like this shock.
Then the movie resonated. But like, so what was your question? How did I feel about
when we find out that young Isaac got married within 3 months?
I think it kind of goes back to this thing again where we're talking about that black men specifically in this movie, but I think a lot of men, like when they decide that they want to get married, it's whoever's in proximity, right? It's not necessarily where I feel like a lot of women and I've had conversations recently where we want like our soulmate, we want to marry this specific person, right? And we're not willing to settle, where a lot of men are comfortable with someone just fulfilling that role and taking, if I don't get the first choice, then I get the second choice or the third choice. You know what I'm saying? But I need this role filled.
So I think that you're absolutely correct for that time and that setting, definitely right. When the movie based in 1984. I think, though, as people get older, I can definitely tell you as a man, the roles become reversed.
Really?
Yeah, because when you can ask any man, past 35, when you're meeting, especially if you're meeting like a boss career woman, that's the sense that you feel, that she already got everything, and you're just the last component.
Ooh.
And
damn.
I need to get married by a certain time.
Dang.
And so I need to get married, and if you don't get married, I'm going to marry someone else. You think about even in celebrity status, we forget. Remember when Big Sean was dating the old girl from what was that movie? What was that TV show, man, that everybody used to watch when they used to sing all the time? I can't remember it right now. I think it was I can't remember. Anyway, they were engaged to be married. They break up. She still marries on that same date to another individual.
No, stop it. You're lying. No.
Oh, no, I'm not lying. I can't necessarily remember the TV. Glee. She was on Glee.
I never.
I never watched it either. So we ain't got to go into I never watched it either. But yeah, she married somebody else, right?
Wow.
So
okay.
Because and listen,
and I get that, and I feel like you're right too. I especially if you're talking about post 35. I think women feel a lot of pressure with the biological clock ticking and like needed to feel this last check mark on the box. Yeah, listen, to my experience and gentlemen that I talked to, a lot of them have felt like when they talk to women who are like 30. So there's something about between being 30 when you're approaching 35 right. and then post 35. Right. There's been that sense, especially if you live in the cities you just mentioned. If you live in some city, some cities where you're going to see that more often. Yeah. If you live in the DCs and the New Yorks, where you're in the LAs and you're seeing boss type women, and not saying boss women don't exist anywhere else because they do. They are. But if they are definitely there. But just in those cities where you're seeing them more. Right. You do get that sense that you're there to fulfill like a check mark. Damn. Right. And I'm there to provide you with children and to provide you with space, right? Even to the point where I know couples that happen to them get divorced 2 years later. Now the woman doesn't even, it's not like she wants to marry again. Like she got the kid, she's good, and now the dude's divorced. But I think that that's a blueprint of men behaving like that also too, to your point of what you were saying about Isaac. Right. That, did you want to marry her or you needed to get married? Because you were committed to this thing. Right. And you're committed to the idea that, you already got everything. You want to get married. As a woman, you should be available. Or you're going to go on leave. Who's the next suitable person? Right. Forget what I personally want to do. And what he learned when he got older was, I should have went after her. His pride he was so committed to this pride, he didn't even want to ask who this child was that the number added up to being his, right? The math.
The math added up to being his. You know what I mean? And that's interesting, even in this, because it's like, how committed to you as a guy. I got a homeboy who I ain't gonna say his name.
I love that scene though. I love that scene when Issa is, coming back to explain to him that
knowing that's his father now.
Now that's her father, and basically like I guess it was easier. He's like, no, it was easier for me to have just asked the question then. You know what I'm saying? And just that a level of accountability. I mean, as late.
That was important.
Right.
Because what we often see is, again, a woman, a black woman, willing to take on that burden.
Ooh, that's so true. That's
you
so
understand?
true. Yeah,
like it's okay. And
right.
for him to say as a guy,
yes.
he could have let her have it. For him to say, no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
For me, that was a fatherly thing to do.
Right.
And that was an adult man thing to do.
Right.
Because what we often see, again, is another example of a black woman being like, oh, I don't want to burden you no more.
Right.
Let me take this from you. You understand? And what I was saying before when he was talking about, when I was saying how committed he was, I got a homeboy who missed out on the opportunity with a woman simply because he didn't step up in that sense. Right. And a lot of us, our idea of what we think stepping up is like, I did all this stuff for you, right. So you should come to me instead right. of being vulnerable and going straight to you.
Right.
Because again, of that fear of failing.
Right.
In that sense. Another theme that you saw, that we were saying, the wisdom of Christina talking to her daughter, like from the grave, from the reading of the letters. And that was wisdom that you right. said you saw.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. And I thought it was an expression of love. And then I love the movie and the different kinds of love that they portrayed on there. I think the one between Christina posthumously and May was beautiful, because I really believe that Christina didn't want May to carry this weight of not feeling like she was enough for her mother, and feeling abandoned and feeling unloved by her mother, that she wanted to, at her last days, at least bring some clarity so she can get free, like do the work to become free, so she can open herself up to love, become a a better lover and a better mother to her children than she was to May's character. And I thought that was beautifully profound. I think even May's character, where it's a month after her mom's dying, but we really don't see like a breakdown, right? Like
wow,
there's a level of detachment there, right? She's already back in work swing. She's already listen. My God forbid, it's a wrap for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not dating. I'm not gonna be working. To the point.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So I feel like, but it makes sense in the story.
Which is a pattern she probably got from her mother.
Absolutely, detaching, immersing yourself in the work, and kind of going like things are okay, and that she learned from her mother, right? So this, we talk about this generation, but I feel like Christina's love for May, even at the end, it matters, because she could have not sent the letter, and how broken that would have begun to continue through May's character.
Yeah.
For another generation, maybe.
Yeah.
Or generations.
I don't have anything to add to that. I don't have anything to add to that. One thing that I saw that I thought was dope was Mike's Lakeith Stanfield, his brother.
Yeah.
The conversations with his brother.
And Laurel was flawless in that role.
He was flawless, even though it came from like humor, but it was there.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you get a sense of it's interesting how you feel about things, because I felt like he was the older brother, even though you technically don't know.
Oh, we don't know. I thought he was the older brother.
You technically don't know, but and if I'm wrong, check me on this. But you get the feeling that he's giving him some knowledge, right? And the part where the married couple is on the couch and they're talking to them across the couch, like during the storm. Right. That was them giving them a sense of wisdom, of like tidbits of like, this is what married life is like in a sense. Yeah. This is what you're going to expect of, like, but it's not that bad. It's about the match work, Not that bad. And I thought I thought that was cute. You understand? Because at that point they were still fresh in their relationship.
Right.
You don't even know what this is, let's alone thinking about marriage.
Right.
And then you have this example, and that was important for me, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of couples don't look appealing. Ooh. They don't, like, because the problem is
real, though.
Older men have always treated marriage like something you have to be ready for when you're done with everything else. Yeah. Right? And women
with everyone else.
Right, with everyone else. Correct. And women have always treated marriage like it's like it's a start of something else.
Right.
Right. But they all kind of have treated it like it's this exclusive club that you're involved in. And then almost like they don't really want to be around nobody else but other couples.
You get excluded a date night, couple night, couple trips.
And I thought that was cool because they were very inviting.
Yeah.
They were very like, have a seat.
Right.
Sit down with the kids.
Enjoy.
You know, she's a beautiful person.
Right.
Just because you don't have no kids, it doesn't mean that you don't know how to be around kids.
Right.
You understand? Like, it was a love-centered kind of thing. And I thought that was dope because what I see sometimes is a lot of couples portraying something that they think they're supposed to be instead of just being a natural effect of your love can come in so many different directions. And I thought that was love right there.
I think so too. And I think it kind of goes back to this thing again where are you marrying to fill a void or a gap, or are you checking a box, or if you actually like are loving your mate and allowing yourself to bring both parties are allowing themselves to bring the full selves into that space. And I think that requires a little bit more intentionality of it, right? Just saying, all right, well, I may not cook, but, you know, I clean, or I may not clean, but I do this, or if I can't do it, then we'll be able to, you know, hopefully afford to bring somebody in to help. And, like, trying to find out those dynamics that actually don't suffocate all the things you love about the person that brought you together.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of go with what you was talking about, like idea versus reality.
Yeah.
Like, what is your idea of something versus the reality of the situation, and how committed are you to this idea? I remember some time ago, my friend was telling me about this girl I was dating who didn't want to see me no more, right? The girl told me she didn't want to see me no more. She was like, okay, she was like, oh, I'm used to dating suit and tie brothers or whatever the case may be. And that's cool. I respect that, right? Damn. But my best friend was telling me, she was like, yo, Jay, she was like, check this out. She was like, she has an idea of how she wants things to be. And she was like, reality hasn't really hit her yet. Ooh. And she was like, she's young, she's on her groove, she's on her grind. She was like, reality ain't really hit her yet. Right. And this is coming from my best friend who's like married, got kids, the whole nine. Right. She was like, and unfortunately, when reality does hit her and there's a lesson that may or may not learn, she's not gonna learn that with you. Damn. She's like, so it was never going to work. Yeah. Right. And she was like, when you come across people who have that idea and they're so committed to that idea, you're not, and you don't suit, they will enjoy you for a minute, but ultimately they already checked the box. True. You know what I'm saying? They already said like, okay, this is just for entertainment. You understand? Right. And listen, and that's cool. That's what dating is, right? You enjoy yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no beef. There's none of that. But people sometimes carry that to the depths, is what we saw in the movie. In real life. Carry that to in real life, right? You think about Isaac; he's an old man. Yeah. This man said he was already married, got a family, he had a whole bunch of portraits, and he still carries this one photo of Christina. And you're like, yo, you that means something to you, and it's still impact. Even before he realized he has a daughter, he's still impacted by that. Right. How committed are you going to be to this idea? And I think we do it when it comes to, like, we do it all the time. We do it when it comes to our careers. Right. You know, people come out of college and they like, oh, I came out of college, I'm supposed to have this.
100,000 first job
interview.
Out the gate.
I'm not carrying no paper towels. And they come into a job interview like you're lucky to have them. Like, I'll settle for 120 with no experience.
No experience.
Or when you have a relationship, it's like, well, you're the woman, you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z for me. Right? If you're not supposed to cook for me, you're supposed to give me money, or you're supposed to love me regardless. Right. And you're supposed to forgive me no matter what I'm supposed to go out there and do.
That forgiveness piece, though, right? That I feel like has been, I think, since Beyonce's Lemonade, like, I think there's been a lot of language around, like, how much are women, black women specifically, are supposed to endure due to their love for black men,
I just want to say I envy you.
Why?
Because you were able to pronounce specifically and I can't. But go ahead. I struggle with that word. Like, it's just, that's how black I am, but go ahead.
South, so, words come and go here. Yes, I think there is this messaging from birth that black women are going to have to endure being cheated on, being in prison, being neglected, having to cater 100% all the time to a man. And I love that Christina's character specifically did not. You know what I'm saying? Did she regret it? You know, absolutely. But to see that visualization on the screen where she walks away from reducing herself for someone else.
Mm. And that's something I have a blind spot to, because even though I'm a black man, I'm still a man.
Right.
So I've never had to be like reduce myself. I've never been forced to have to like make that choice, right? Whether it come from my household or society. Society never sent me any messages that I have to reduce myself. Actually, it's been the opposite. That if I do choose to reduce myself, then I might be an outcast amongst my circle of men if I'm the type of person that cares about that kind of thing.
Right.
You understand? Yeah. So I think that was important that you said that.
Yeah, I think everything around us forces women to choose between career, between love, between, you know, what kind of mother we're able to be. And there's no accommodation in mass that supports women, especially black women, you know, having it all. And a lot of times it's doable, like just a small sacrifice, you know, from their partner. It's not rocket science, but a lot of times, you know, you're talking about being immovable and sticking to that pride, sticking to that decision by any means necessary. I think sometimes that destroys what's possible.
I think that also there's an idea too that, you know, of I'm supposed to be a certain type. There's also the idea that a lot of women may have, especially when it comes to a black man, that if I'm by a certain age, I'm supposed to have a certain amount of income. I'm supposed to have a certain, because let's not act like we are speaking on the Mavericks, right? But let's not act like we don't have the traditional women who still don't think that I'm supposed to be a certain type also too.
True.
And that's the pressure also.
And that's very true.
I'm not supposed to be vulnerable. I'm not supposed to be open. I'm supposed to be able to take and be a shoulder to lean on. I'm not supposed to necessarily be definitely not supposed to be unemployed.
True.
You understand? Right. I don't know a time in my life ever when I was able to step to a woman when I was unemployed. There have been women I have missed out on because at that time I didn't have a job.
Or underemployed, right? Or whatever their definition is. Like kind of you said, that suit and tie stuff.
Oh yeah. Cause listen, I'm just an idiot in the sense of I'll be in a room full of millionaires and still be like, hi.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's just who I am. Right. But I do recognize that there is something that comes with that. And I've had women kind of give me what makes you think you can talk to me? And I'm like, because I'm right here. Right? So that's why I think I can talk to you. But in that same sense, there's an idea of what you think. And I think they clash. And we got to ask ourselves, like, okay, what's really give and take? Yeah. What am I really willing to let go of versus what it is and what we discuss?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the overall theme of the movie.
Yeah. Because
you have, we didn't really understand or know, or maybe I'm tripping. I didn't really get a sense of understanding what Lakeith Stanfield's character, what he thought a relationship was supposed to be. He was kind of floating.
He was, and I think that was a miss for me in the movie where I felt like I wanted to know more about his story. I know he had his brother and his wife, but more about like what his parents were like. What was his idea of like, you know, marriage or family, and then how he began to navigate from there. I
somewhat identify with that.
Yeah.
And I don't often watch movies and be like, that's me. The last time I saw a movie and I was like, that was me, I think when I was a kid and I saw Boys in the Hood. Like it's very, Juice. I was definitely GQ. Yeah. Okay. But I resonated with that because I came up in a household where like I was allowed to be me. There was no pressure put on me for anything in that sense. Right. Because I also come from an era where it was about, I was a young black male, it was about me coming home at night. So my family was all about, let him figure out, he got past 16 and he ain't died. Right. He got past 18, he didn't die.
Right.
So I was able to have room. And by the time I was 15, 16 years old, I had already passed all the homies around me because they had already dropped out and started selling and doing what they was doing. Yeah. So the expectations for me was like, let him figure it out. So because a lot of things I did figure out, but then there were other things I'm still kind of, when he was kind of like, maybe this, maybe that, I identified with that. Right. Because I'm not someone who necessarily thinks that I have to get married in order to have a family. I'm not someone who thinks that, I just explained to you, Like, for example, my niece is the number one individual in my life, and I get it. I know a lot of fathers would be like, it'll change, but you would have to know my household. Like, because I'm my aunt's, like, my aunt, I'm her favorite. And my aunt has 2 kids, and she has a boy within those kids. But my aunt loves me to death, right? And I'm not going to go into depths of what I've done for my niece or what my auntie has done for me, but trust me, it's up there. Right. So I have a different alternative sense of, like, love and what family is. But I do recognize that it's kind of hard to articulate that.
Absolutely. Especially
in dating and sometimes going on dates, or you kick it with somebody. It's like a job interview. They're like, so what you think about marriage? Like what you just said.
Right.
What you think about marriage? You think I don't know what I think. I don't even know if I want what I want to order to eat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
that's real.
And I understand that with being a woman, you know, you guys have a little bit more concerns than we do.
Right.
You know, you have a clock and all that other stuff. That things that I don't have to consider.
Right.
So when you add that on top of me being a guy, I recognize my privilege in that, but that's not my fault, right? That's not entirely my fault. You know, I'm just like, you know, I mean, like I'm not, you know, this is the advantage that I've been sitting on. Now it's my fault if I try to remain ignorant and try to act like it's the same thing. I do recognize it's different, but it's not my fault. That I don't have your life figured out when we met.
Right.
Because that's what it sounds like.
That's very true.
When we sit at the table and you drilling me with all these questions, it sounds like you want me to figure out your life.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
or the expectations and like how to fill them and fill these gaps. Can we just talk about Lakeith's performance? Because that man...
Take your time.
That caption.
You want some water?
I've been a fan of Lakeith since Get Out. And not because of his role in that movie, but because of the interviews he did. You know what I'm saying? Just like this quirky, very smart, very astute black man. And
he played a gangster right before that on the Lolo.
On what movie?
He was in Dope. He was the blood. Yeah.
So let's talk about range.
He was the blood.
Yeah, I did, and I love Dope. Dope was such a good movie. I forgot about that. I didn't even recognize that's who that person was.
Played Snoop Dogg and NWA. Yeah. I mean, Strata Compton, all that stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, like his range, I think he is going to be one of the premier actors of our generation, and I think it's beautiful to see him coming into his own and pushing him, but I feel like he was perfectly cast for that, and his performance was so believable.
I will say that, like, I want to see more of all of them.
Yeah,
that whole collective.
That's
like,
so
I you know, every time Issa puts out something, you want to see more.
Yeah,
you know, and you and I talked about this off. You know, we felt like Issa might have been like the weakest link, but not because like she was horrible, because who she was surrounded by.
Exactly.
Like she was surrounded by
actors.
8+, you know, even Courtney B. Vance, another Detroiter, who played her stepfather.
Courtney can just step on the scene and you gotta like respect it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta eyes. He's about to say something. He delivers a line or two and it's like, yo, he's a phenomenal actor. You know, and I'm sure the cast got to learn from, you know, him just being on the set, you know.
Yeah, and then, you know, Issa also, too, you know, struggled with vulnerability as a character.
Absolutely.
We recognize that more so from, like, the tradition, the generational curse of her mother.
And I see that, and I also see that sameness in the Insecure, right, and in Awkward Black Girl. So I still see the same character. Mm-hmm. And so that would be my thing, you know, and I stand for Issa, like, and I hope to meet her one day.
But we want to see more though. That's the thing about it. We want to see more, and
I want to see her evolve as a character where I don't see Issa that I've known since Awkward Black Girl in the photograph. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. I think she had parts though.
She absolutely.
I definitely think she had parts.
Absolutely. And I think somebody had commented like on her hair being straight for this movie, but like she needed to be a different person.
Yeah. Like she had, like the times when she was with her father, that was acting right there. Like
absolutely. And not taking away her ability to act at all.
Not at all. You just saying, like, I didn't see Insecure when I saw her with her father.
Exactly. Agree.
No, I didn't.
So yeah, I think that's, you know, she's still young and still is doing so many boss and innovative stuff, but I want to see, you know, her with an Academy Award.
Okay. Listen, I think we're going to look back on this entire cast and everybody from there, and we're going to be like, yo, that was dope. And I think the movie itself is something you're going to have to sit on for a second. But it is worth like a conversational piece, hence why we're here now, because you and I definitely had things to do.
You're like, stop, wait.
Yeah, right. Like, and if you guys knew what we went through just to get here, like it was a lot. It was a lot. All right, so like real quick, let's name some black love movies. Ultimate, I think Love Jones.
Of course.
Love and Basketball.
The top.
Love and Basketball.
Love and Basketball.
Brown Sugar.
Wait, can we talk about how Love and Basketball had like the perfect soundtrack? And I feel scoring for the movie. So let me say, make that difference. And then I feel like the scoring for The Photograph was we keep doing the same. So can we stop doing the same songs, y'all? From if I hear "If This World Was Mine" in a movie one more time,
they played that.
I feel like they were playing it in New Orleans.
They definitely played Big Luther. You're right. Yeah, that's true.
We heard it in every single like black movie. If we can just get like the number 7 or the number 10 song of that, not the number 1 song.
We do need some more B-side records.
B-side records, and the audience, us that was in the movie theater, would still know the song. We know, these albums, or introduce us into the catalog to go deeper.
They did have certain tracks I was impressed with. Like you can hear Ari Lennox, you can hear Lucky Day.
Oh yeah, but those are the newer. So
they were, but they wasn't the B songs. They were the. You're right. I hear what you're saying.
And we're listening to them now. But I was talking about for the timestamp signatures. We got.
Cause you know what song you don't hear, and it's probably because you can't get the rights.
Oh.
You don't hear Michael Jackson's "Lady in My Life."
Oh, very true.
You don't hear that, right? And you would think you would, but you just don't hear it in movies. And if you're gonna go back to 1984,
right?
I hear you on that.
Yeah.
So we got Love Jones, Love and Basketball. What's another black movie? Brown Sugar.
Brown Sugar.
You mentioned The Wood.
I love The Wood because I think
is it a love story?
I think
or is it a coming of age?
I think it's both, and I think it goes back to the thing we were saying before. Like love, we gotta get unstuck from like this thing that black love is just between a black woman and a black man, right?
Okay.
The black love between the brothers, like between those men, the brotherhood that they created, it was a beautiful example of love. And then you have of course, the love story within that, but the romantic love story. But love is a beautiful thread through The Photograph. And I think we talk about Lakeith's character with his mentee. That's beautiful. That was beautiful to see. A black man mentoring another man, opening doors, becoming a sponsor for him to get promoted. Like that stuff you need to visually see on the screen.
Yeah.
And it's also a signal to other people that are, as we begin to move up, that we need to make sure we're bringing other people
before
around
we leave
and equipping them to be successful in those roles.
Yeah.
And so that call to responsibility. Anyway, so I
that's
feel
something else that might have got lost. I feel like that might have got lost
in the movie. Because they wanted to be swept off your feet. And
they wanted, they wanted you walk on roses. You understand?
Bubble bath.
And bubble baths and all that. Yeah, that's what they wanted.
Chocolate candy.
Yeah. And the couple was surrounded by love throughout the movie.
Absolutely.
So I think that was dope
and I think,
too.
We got to talk about that because a lot of times we are not bringing, whole selves into our romantic spaces because we're not well loved or valuing the love around us, right? And so it's hard to go into romantic love if you don't know how to love, your family and your friends and like have those things, and then all of a sudden think this romantic love is going to be a different switch, right?
True.
It's an extension of that, and it's not, a separate thing.
Yeah. The fact that you mentioned that love should not just be looked upon as a man and a woman when it comes to movies. Right. That brings us to the movie we had said earlier was Moonlight.
Moonlight, man.
Moonlight was about love, right?
Moonlight did that.
Like when you think about how he felt about, I always mispronounce the brother's name, so I'm sorry, Mashallah Allah.
Yeah.
When you think about his relationship with him,
absolutely.
What he struggled with,
right?
You understand?
And that's that was love.
Even when you're trying to figure out love, that's love.
That's love.
That's love, and that's something you have to mention in that.
And in contrast to what we saw with his mother,
Yep.
It was complete difference to show you what it could look like.
And the conclusion he came to in the end,
right?
So when you think about The Photograph, where does it rank with like love movies? Like where would you say is up there with? Like
it's too early.
So I don't want to assume that, but we both agree that Love Jones might be the
top.
The top. Okay, so Love Jones the top. Okay, and we have the Brown Sugars and Love and Basketball, which is a close second to the top.
Right.
Where would you say, are we going to be looking at the photograph as culturally impactful, like the way we still talk about Love Jones?
Is it going to make the DVD night, the Netflix night? Is it going to be like the go-to?
Do you feel like it's
you got to watch it?
Do you feel like it's going to be like that?
I think it's too early to tell. I think it has some elements of it, right? The cinematography is beautiful. It's beautiful just to watch on mute, right? Like I will watch it like over and over again just to see these beautiful brown faces on my screen. But I don't know if it is enough if it gets me there emotionally versus it makes me evaluate how I am processing and thinking about love. If that makes sense. It doesn't, like when you watch Love Jones with your boo, Maxwell is going to follow very soon thereafter. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that was Love and Basketball.
That was Love and Basketball, but he was in, what was the song? I can't, dang. So if it's cool.
Yeah,
and
that was.
He slowed it down for that love scene.
Yeah.
So you know what's happening, but I felt like when I left the photograph, I was more introspective. If that makes sense. Like I was thinking more about how I process love through the lens of my parents. How do I, navigate career versus love? I had a lot more to think cognitively than not necessarily precipitates a romantic evening.
Yeah, I didn't come out like, man, I can't wait till I find me someone. Like when I watch, I ain't gonna front. I can be doing the most. I can be listening to Jeezy, but when Love Jones come on, I want to go dancing.
Oh yeah.
Like I want to go dancing. Like Love Jones does make me feel just a little bit R&B-ish.
True.
I wanna play some dope vibes. I want to be somewhere where they dance.
Was that a plug?
Yeah, on my playlist, maybe. And I just want to be somewhere just feeling real good about myself. And you're right. When I came out the photograph, I more felt like I wanted to have a conversation.
Exactly. Like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this.
I didn't come out wanting to hold hands.
Yeah,
I didn't want to take a walk in the park or any of that. I didn't feel mushy. Yeah, and I think that could have been the intention.
And I think if people went in with the expectation thinking it would be a Love Jones type of feel afterwards, and it wasn't, right? And it would bring up a lot of stuff that maybe have been neglected in a relationship, that you have to have these uncomfortable conversations. But I feel like long term, it was a very necessary movie to like spark some of these conversations and to people that were willing to see them. So I think you have made a point before, like, I think we're going to have to revisit this. And I don't think we have to wait 10 years to kind of see, but definitely in like 3 or 4 years to kind of revisit like where this fits in the Black love canon. But it's definitely in there. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's what it is. I think love is thought. And I think we don't necessarily have conversations about that. We have it more about the emotional side, but not the mental side of love. We talk about the mental side, like the effects of it,
right.
What it does to you,
right.
But we don't talk about the process of like, okay, I'm feeling this way. How do I go about it? How do my mind and my heart work together as one? Ooh. Which leads to the final, like what is love, right? And love. For me, when I think about what love is, I think about all the things that you just said. Like love for me is an addition to who I already am. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a fulfillment.
Right.
It is something like, it is me being able to just go out and you and I go get a bagel.
Right.
And I get it. It might sound maybe a little lazy in that sense, but I do get more off getting coffee than I do get off going having this grandstand dinner. Right. You understand? Like I do get more off like me. I do think better on my feet when I have a partner of like, yo, it's sunny outside. Let's go get some waffles. Right. I'm not a good planner. I'm not someone who's going to plan these great vacations. Right. I can try. And I've had conversations with you at night, and I've learned the importance of not being so committed. Right. 'Cause I know I like to fly by night, so I understand the importance of another individual who might want me to put the work in, and I'm willing to do that. But my natural self is I just, you know me, I like to feel good.
Yeah.
You understand? And I like to step outside of that. And I do think that love, though, takes some thought. I think when you're feeling something, you have to say to yourself, okay, cool. You have to assess, like, all right, what is my idea and what's the reality of the situation? If I meet this great woman and she was in town on business and she lives in California, the reality is she lives in California, I live in D.C.
Right.
But my feelings are, I feel this way.
Exactly.
So what's my idea versus what's my reality, and how can we make that come together as much as possible?
Right.
What do you think about just love?
Love. I think it is freeing, right? I think it unbounds us from our fears. And I think when I feel well loved, I am braver in the world. I am more courageous. I am expressing more of myself freely because that's there.
Wow, I'm just
stop it. I hate you. I had to look away from you because I can't do you.
God damn, that was great. Now here's something for you to follow up with that, and we're gonna end it on this. What is black love?
That's a good question. You want to answer first? Because I think it's the manifestation of what you were saying, overcoming, right, against all odds. You're talking about everything from leaving Africa to the transatlantic slave trade to slavery in this country to oppression, Jim Crow, and the crack epidemic and AIDS and like all these things, and like against all odds, against police brutality and the Klan and burning churches and like all that, we still find a way to love.
Yeah, like for me, black love it's my heart and not my armor. Because when I step outside, my blackness is my armor.
Right.
I'm out here. I'm a black male. I'm walking. When I'm jogging in the morning, and it's like 5 a.m, the sun isn't up, my blackness is my armor because I have to recognize that there's a white woman running a few feet ahead of me. So let me cross the street and run on the opposite side. Right. Because it's my armor, meaning like someone feels like they want to target me because they have this sense that as a black man, I'm invincible. So let me shoot them up 9, 10, 12 times. Right. But when I think about black love, like it's my heart. When I go back to Detroit and I'm kicking it with my mans and them, and they know me from years ago, even though there's certain things they should let go. And they always want to feel the need to remind me that I'm no better, no matter how far. But like that's that love, you understand? And I've learned to understand the relationship between my mother and I because she resembles Christina a lot, and understanding my mother's love language. My mother is not going to be the one to be like, "Oh, I love you, honey bunny," because my mother recognized that she had a son, and she didn't want to have a son that she felt like was going to be soft, and she didn't want a son that she knew the stereotypes of a boy growing up with women in the house. So she wanted me to toughen up. So my mother wasn't the most emotionally expressive person, but I learned to understand the way my mother expresses herself is she'll be like, "Yo, you want something to eat?" Right? Or she'll be like, "I saw this shirt that might be your size. I'm gonna send it to you. I got a discount off of it." Like that's my mother. Those are the things that she does that show her love. And when you and I, something that we almost forgot when we was watching the photograph. Nobody in the movie said the words "I love you."
Yeah, I saw it in the trailer, but I don't think I remember seeing it in the movie.
Unless I'm wrong.
Right.
Like them two definitely didn't say it.
Very true. Right? They did not.
Even at the end, they did not say "I love you."
But they showed it.
They showed it. Right?
They showed it.
And paying attention to that love language, I think, is important.
And kind of what you said, right? Because, going to a steakhouse every day is not sustainable, right? Like, even if you had, like, $1 million, like, that's just not the grand gestures of love. It is in the everyday, right?
But going to see Kendrick Lamar, because I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the everyday stuff. And the fly, of course, that character, May's character, definitely did the most. But
that was a lot.
I don't blame her though. But I think there's some value too in the everydayness of it, because you know they did chill. They chilled that they've seen each other in the workspace. They've chilled with their family. They chilled, you know, even the short time they had these different spaces where they've had like just the everydayness of love.
Yeah, black love is like when I'm meeting a woman and she invites me over to meet the family, and it's a cookout. It's a meal. Yeah. It's conversations, and I'm meeting the uncle that's going to embarrass you. Yeah. And I'm hearing your nickname that no one really knows. Exactly. Like, you know, that is black love. Your sister that you grew up with, that's your sister, but she's not really your sister, but she is your sister. You know what I mean? Right. Like black love is like, I can meet your father for the first time, and we both feel like the white quarterback gets way more praise than the black quarterback, right? And we don't even know each other. Right. We probably barely watch football, but we know that fact. Exactly. Right? Like, to me, that's like black love.
And it feels good. It's tangible. You can see it. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can smell it. Like, it's in the food. It's in the music. It's in the rhythm. And you know when you walk into a space where black love is present. Mm-hmm. Like, you know it.
Yeah. And you can't just get it just anywhere.
Nah.
Right, it is a blackness that comes, and it's different. It's not monolithic. Like, there's different forms of black love, and we have to understand that the black love that we came from, we have to be open to be introduced to another form of black love,
and to continue to evolve, right? Because we're getting to an age where, you know, we're really trying to make therapy more accessible, and people are talking about it more, and we are trying to heal from these traumas that they were brought up in the photograph, right? Yeah, and so we're not perpetuating it for generations. So as that happens, right, we talked about, you know, your mother, you know, giving you these tools for, you know, this, what she felt like was masculine, and then we have the side of, like, you know, Dwayne Wade and son, and that's still love, right? And the purest example of it, and how we begin to, like, you know, push the boundaries of what we think it should be to, like, create a really beautiful space for us all to be.
Yeah, it is. Oh, this was great. This is great. I feel in love.
You feel the love.
I feel in love.
You feel the love. Oh, this Lion King.
That's okay. They could have added that song in that movie. I don't know. I don't think there's not much to say. I think we covered everything, and this podcast is going to go up on yours and mine, so it is what it is. Yeah. But I appreciate you.
I love sitting down and talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you being the friend that you are, and being like, no, this needs to get done. And so I definitely appreciate you on that. And now I'm looking more in depth of the movie. I might go see it again on the low. Like, after I listen to this. And listen, if you haven't seen the movie yet, I think we still did a good job of, trust me, even if you did not see the movie and you listened to us, we still didn't give away a lot of things as much as you might think we have. We didn't.
Definitely go see it. Go see it.
Hopefully we still gave you a perspective.
Right, definitely.
To look at, and you're having these conversations because, hey man, listen, we not trying to claim to be experts at it. I think black love is always evolving. Yeah, and it's always there, because I've learned a little bit more from black love in the past hour. I probably learned in my whole life.
And keep learning.
You know, that's what's up.
I think that's the beautiful part of it.
Char, how can they find you?
Yo, you can find me on IG, true_Charlyn, on Twitter at true_intent. You can follow Starting With Today at Starting W Today on Twitter, Starting With Today on IG. We on all the platforms as well, so check us out.
All right, and you can follow me on all social media platforms at J Hall Radio.
That's Don't say it like word. That, like mine is too many different things or whatever we tried. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, we just talked about love. You want to end on an argument? That ain't black love. At J Hall Radio on all social media platforms. We appreciate you coming in. As usual, be blessed, for successful, and we'll talk to you soon.